do I need to remind you guys what episode we're doing?
Severance.
Severance.
I've actually done a little more research than I have in the past, which is meaning I watched a little bit of videos. So it's starting to make sense.
Or you just watched the wrong theories and they're
I'm
all
just
completely wrong.
I'm just here for Marie's theories.
hmm
Hi, and welcome back to the severed section of the We Need Heroes podcast. I'm your host, Neil G, and I'm joined by my regular refiners, Jose L, Marie S, and David L, as we pour over all the theories from episode 5 of season 2 of Severance, Trojan's Horse, or as I'm calling it, unsanctioned erotic entanglement. This episode sees the fallout of Irv's death and the real return of Helena, as well as one of the most excruciating performance reviews of all time, as Milchik gets his. Guys, briefly, thoughts on episode 5?
Yeah, this one was an interesting one. Because episode 4 was really out there and fast paced, and now we're back in the environment of the office. And at first you're there's no such thing as a filler episode when it comes to Severance, but I was just because the episode was over so quick, but then when rewatching it, I'm like, okay, we actually get a lot of information here when we listen to the dialogue, which I thought was interesting. And we're halfway through, which is also really
is it 9 or 10 episodes this season?
Well, you told me
10.
10, so I'm going off your word here, Neil.
Right. Well, that question should let you know that I'm not entirely sure. Jose, thoughts on the episode?
I'm really enjoying it. I think this season is my favorite season now. It's just entertaining in general, and like I said, I think I agree with Marie. It's not a filler, but it's just I wanted more. I wanted to drag. I wanted to be like Heliar's. Mark, tell me more. It's and then I genuinely feel conflicted over Milchik. He's an annoying asshole, but then you feel you see him get his kicked while he's down in the performance review, and I absolutely laughed when they're like, "Oh, here's your menu because we're gonna be here a while."
And David.
Firstly, Neil, it's nice to be back in the office, back in the warmth.
Yes.
Yeah, after cold this outside, freezing outside the cinema.
Echo what everybody else said, really. I think the pacing of this episode sort of slowed a little bit, and it was concentrating on the fallout from the last episode. So it it was a bit slower in terms of plot points, but every episode of Severance is fucking great. So
yeah, I enjoyed it as I do every episode, and it did feel like a small step down, but I think that's only because last week's episode 4, Woe's Hollow, was just a standout episode of the season, of maybe the show so far. It was so good. A lot actually deceptively happens in this episode. I just feel because it hasn't got obviously with Herb's Innie being at the end of the last episode. This episode, it feels maybe not as much happened, but a lot really does happen in it. Especially if you dive into some of the lines and dive into more of that. But first, after the traumatic events of last week's ORTBO, I feel we all need a little wellness here before we plough into the episode. So here's some affirmations to help you achieve your quarterly targets. David, your Eltie is a vegetarian and enjoys D&D. Your Eltie is a fan of horror films. And your Eltie has a sausage dog called Cheddar.
oh,
Jose L, your Eltie travels around the country almost every week. Your Eltie spent time at sea. Your Eltie lives in a warm, sunny place. Marie S, your Eltie is a talented Photoshop artist. Also, your Eltie single-handedly keeps a small bakery in business.
he'll probably fill from donuts now.
We should mention something about living in a country. What's Spain known for?
I live in Portugal, Jose.
I feel like he meant that. He definitely meant that. My God.
I'm learning.
That it's in Europe still, or
Yes,
different country?
Sort of.
Anyway, diving into the episode, we have Irv do the previously on spiel because, of course, he does, just to jam that dagger into our hearts even a little bit more. But we open with a scene with the man collecting and going to the exports hall from O&D, and the tune he is whistling is "The Wreck of the Edmund Fitzgerald" by Gordon Lightfoot, a song about the sinking of the titular ship that came out in 1975. And I was thinking, well, that could kind of tie in with the retro-futuristic themes of the show. If in whenever the show's set, they're listening to music that is from 1975, and it's from an album called Summertime Dream.
Shout out to Screen Rant on that one.
And many other places.
I tried to Shazam it. It did not work.
Hmm. This is something that I've started to realize with the few videos that I've been watching is water is a huge theme, and
Yeah,
obviously it's
that's
also
why.
the logo.
Yeah.
So,
Keep
a lot of
saying.
the jobs that people are when Mark was scrolling through before Cold Harbor, a lot of those are cities that are on water and or rivers. Granted, they were saying, well, most cities, the big ones are on waters anyways, because that's how they grew. But just in general, there's a lot of theories involving water with the company and saying that that's one of the things that they use to control people. But there's just a lot of outlandish stuff too. So
Yeah, I
I
interesting to
mean,
mean,
see.
Cut Harbor, and it's like a harbor.
A
You have to
harbor.
be
Yeah.
Hmm.
on a water for
yeah.
that.
And of course, we know that Mark and his Miss Casey, well, is it Elsie's wife, like maybe died in a car accident in a lake.
Hmm.
So water is like a big, big thing in this show. Yeah. Now the tools we saw him with these like look like medical tools, and I was like,
Dental
okay,
tools.
Dental tools, it looked
dental.
like, yeah.
Okay.
Dental tools. I think that one thing that I established here is that I know my dentist. I've already been to the dentist twice this year, so I know my dental equipment.
And that also explains your current financial situation as well, I'm guessing.
Oh yeah.
Dentist, man. You never see a poor dentist. My friend wants his son to be a dentist. He's like, because you never see a poor dentist. I don't think his son's going to want to do that. But anyway, there was a great theory I saw online where someone said, what if it's really innocent and he's just the guy who carved the Earth melon head with those tools?
To
And
be
that's,
honest, it did because at first I thought it was clay, like clay shaping tools, because I used to do pottery, but they have the little mirror thingy, and that is the one like that the dentist looks to use to look at your mouth, and there's no other purpose for that really. So,
Yeah.
yeah.
I think it's just a coincidence. It might not be like a huge significance, but I think maybe when we find out what's going down that elevator, we'll be like, oh, there's the tools and it's part of something more. But I don't think
Well, I
specifically.
this is not a theory, this is more of an observation. Because Lumen has a thing with teeth. So in
Hmm.
the because in the Hall of Perpetuity, you have the Legacy of Joy, which is just a wall of people smiling. So, and that's just immediately like popped into my head when I saw like the dental tools. And in that moment, Helly even comments about it, saying like, "What are we, like a dental company?" Like it's just like a small link because
Hmm.
like the smiles. It's also like a very like smart way to like do propaganda because you're not seeing the entire. You just see the smiles. You don't see who it is. So, and it's a good way to control the innies because you can like show, look, people are happy. But I just found it really like that link that he's collecting dental tools, and then there's like a bunch of smiles in the Hall of Perpetuity, which you can
hmm.
see in episode 3 of season 1.
Which you just happen to remember.
I looked up which episode it was.
Gotcha.
I'm not as good as I don't know which when what happened where like the episodes merged. So I did look that one up, but yeah. But then another thing that I just like thought was interesting because based on PD's map, like he says people live there, and if people live there, they need
Hmm.
dentists. So it's just like another like because yeah, if you want to live your life, you need a dentist, as I very well know. We know from Irv's Audi, who's been painting the elevators, that he's aware of that elevator, and the only way he actually knows, like he could know about it if he was there himself. So that all points to me that that guy is a non-severed worker.
Hmm.
Opening titles, I had another thought. When we see the giant Cobell head over, she's almost like the overseer of the goat floor. And perhaps it's hinting that we're going to get onto that later because there is a line in this episode later on where someone says, don't let them think they're people. So I was like, does this mean that the whole overall thing, that they almost think of them as livestock, all the severed
Oh.
workers? Because then that ties in with like kind of the goat, the floor, and like all the goat men imagery and all that. I don't think we're actually going to have physical goat men hybrids running around. I feel it's like an analogy that you have a room full of livestock, and that's basically what all the severed workers are treated as by Lumen.
Well, I mean, Lumen doesn't see them as human.
Right, yeah.
Helly's like Helly, now we say that as Helena, says that in episode 1. Like they don't see
They're
them as
just
human. They don't
monsters.
see them see as people. She also says that when she's talking to Helly in season 1 through like the video when she recorded it. She was just like, "You're not a person." So like that is like Lumen's stance. They don't see them as people, like as human.
So also we find out Mark hasn't told his sister yet about being reintegrated, which is a strange choice because they were sharing pretty much everything to that point. They were very sort of close, weren't they? And then it seems strange that he hasn't mentioned that to her.
I mean, it would put her instantly in danger, though.
That's true. Yeah.
Like,
And also he's got Dr. Ragabi living in his garage now.
I'd
like
say he's probably waiting till he's fully integrated to really be able to say anything because he
mhm.
doesn't want to be like, well, I don't remember much right now because that's part of the episode too. It's like,
What's the little drink that he's drinking?
they don't say, but that's probably
I
something
mean,
to
it
kind of
looks
help with the brain.
suspicious.
Yeah, I think again, it's something to do with reintegration. When I first
Is
saw
did
it, I,
PT stop drinking it?
I,
Probably because
yeah,
he just diverted from the thing that they were told to do.
the course of treatment. Yeah.
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 I thought it was like pineapple juice. A little
I was
bit.
going to
Like
say that.
blended pineapple juice.
Well,
I
in the later episode, he talks about not having eggnog, so it could be dairy related products, and she uses like whipped cream, I think, from what I saw.
This is where my brain went. I thought it was gone off breast milk the first time I saw it. I thought his sister just left it there.
Oh,
But,
oh
You're
And then he
like,
no,
drank
Marie.
it, so I was just like, that's not the case. But when I first saw the bottle, I was just like, that kind of looks like breast milk.
pop in breast milk.
yeah, no, thank you. I mean,
No.
it does look like dairy, though, right? Like
moving
I
on
can
from the dairy breast
confirm,
milk
though,
debacle.
It looks
that-
congealed. There's
Yeah.
like
It
Well-
didn't look like I've seen it. It didn't look like Godolph's breast milk. Haven't tasted it though.
But I mean, he said it. The way he reacts, it tastes fine, but
awful.
it smells bad, right? He didn't really have too much of a reaction when he tasted it, but he smelled it and he reacted, right?
Yeah.
I mean, that didn't make that big an impression on me. I've got to be honest. I was like, oh, like what he was drinking. Again,
Yeah.
so many
And we
things.
see that he has a bunch of pills he has to take.
Well, yeah.
So that's interesting.
But we have the scene then with Helena initially refusing to go back and then pleading, like, hey, let me just pretend again, before eventually she's told Mark is close to complete Cold Harbor, therefore they need her to be Helly again. I love her response. She's like, what, my innie who tried to kill me, or then the other one who tried to kill me? They're fucking animals.
Yeah. It's a really interesting perspective that they have. It's like, it's not just propaganda from the company. It's like a genuine reaction, which you think she would realize she's been surrounded by them, but she should know better that they're still people.
Did she say fucking animals? Was it
Yeah,
animals?
she said they're fucking animals.
Yeah, I mean,
which,
it goes
again,
down your livestock idea.
Yeah.
Makes you wonder if she's just been sheltered as well in her real life, along with being controlled.
Well, because
Yeah.
like the next line after that is when her dad's not even there for it, and she's like, "Oh, please tell him his daughter is alive and well." And you're like, "Holy shit, her dad's that cold in it as well." And then of course, Drummond gets one of the lines of the episode when he says, "The work is mysterious and important." I mean, obviously it's important, but why is it mysterious though? What makes it mysterious?
Yeah, but that's from season 1. They kept repeating that.
That's true.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I felt like this episode didn't have many of those like awesome lines.
Oh no, it had.
I would actually go against
no,
that.
yeah.
Yeah,
Did you?
it
Oh,
has
I
one of my
thought it
favorite
was
lines
weaker.
that I'm gonna use on one of you guys at one point as well. Like,
Mm.
you
Oh,
put
which
the
one?
dick into contradiction. Like, I'm gonna use that at one point.
Yeah, excuse me. I do have to mention lines in this episode, David, Jose. Dylan's has some of the best insults I've ever heard in this episode. I don't give three dry fucks about his LT. What in the abominable fuck smells like horseshit, Swedish horseshit, and suck my own fuck, just to name a few. Just to name a few there.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's just Dylan in it. I mean,
I think
and
he
then,
just likes using those words.
it always makes me because you just see how upset it makes Milchek when he hears that kind of language. I just like, and Dylan is so crass, man. But then, of course, in the scene with Helly still, we have it where they say the board appreciates your sacrifice. And then, of course, we definitely know it's Helly when it opens because the way she responds to Miss Swan, we're like, that's definitely Helly. She's like, who the fuck are you? What the hell? I was just like, brilliant. And of course, you hear the lift beep as well this time.
I also just want to shout out for like storytelling through like hair here because like one thing that I've noticed that every time we see Helena, her hair is up and tied up out of her face, and every time we see Helly, her hair is down, and that's just like another like
Oh,
design aesthetic choice
wow.
that's like really informs you about the character.
Was that done? It wasn't done when she was pretending to be
No,
Helly, though,
no,
was
she
it?
wasn't
No.
no, but every time we've seen Helena be Helena, her hair is always up and tied up, which
Yeah.
I thought was
So the
interesting.
more kind of ties into she's like the repressed, buttoned up.
Exactly.
Yeah, another way of aesthetically showing that. And obviously, this now leads to everyone getting there with Milchek and just shouting at him. And I was like, this scene is brilliant. This literally just felt like the internet after this show comes out every week. Just like everyone just yelling all the different theories at them. Well, what's clever is Milchek kind of gives them the Lumen version of the truth, but
Oh,
his line delivery of "excuse me," I mean, that was like just pure Samuel L. Jackson there. Like I just loved it. And Herb's outie, of course, Jose, we could have seen because he's gone on a cruise. Which
Yes.
we know is bullshit because we see him later.
Again, another water-related activity too. So I thought that
oh,
was pretty cool.
cool. But also, yeah, another milkshake bullshitting moment.
Yeah,
Yeah.
milkshake bullshit.
One thing on Irv's outie, when he dies, at the end of the Cold Harbor episode, I thought that the rest of them would have seen would have seen his outie
Yeah,
at that point.
yeah, that's what I was
So all the
saying.
innies would have seen the outie,
We
unless
don't
they
know
all
really
switched
what
over
happened.
at that same time.
I think they might have done the freeze frames or whatever that was.
Yeah,
to kind of freeze everyone.
Because there was no
We don't know.
yeah, because I thought they'd have all been like, oh, did we saw your outie? Or there would have been some sort of conversation in that, but there wasn't
Mhm.
anything.
And I was wondering at the end of the last episode as well, because he wasn't far from them. He was just like a few steps.
Yeah. So I can only assume they all got swapped.
Just went sent back
Yeah,
then, or
yeah.
I don't. Yeah, I guess it's one of these things that we don't need to see the scene. We don't need to know it because it's just extraneous to the plot.
But it still
we
would have
don't
been
need to see it.
weird, wouldn't it? It would
Yeah.
have been a weird and awesome moment to have included.
Yeah, maybe that's
if it
why
did
he
happen.
said that he fell off a rope into the water, and that's why he was wet.
People, have you ever heard of the Graukrappen?
No.
No. I legitimately tried searching for this and I couldn't find anything.
Did you spell it
The
correctly?
Grauk happened?
Like
Maybe,
Swedish
maybe
is let's just say a tricky language.
Yeah.
Do you know what would be
Oh.
funny if it wasn't IKEA furniture? Like that's
That
where
would
they
be
took the
hilarious.
name.
Yeah.
I saw a video where they confirmed it actually, where it's
What,
1780 something.
I mean, I
king.
think it's definitely a true story. Like in
Yeah.
our world.
That story reminded me of some other like fairy tale where like what is it's some classic fairy tale, isn't it? Where the king goes into town and pretends to be a regular person to see what the subjects think of him, and
I
that's
mean,
the story that Milchek's telling
I
them.
feel like the story beats are common, nothing
Yeah, it's
outside of.
like a classical story,
Yeah.
that one, to blend in amongst the workers. But apparently, when I was trying to search it, the only thing I found out was some Swedish people saying the pronunciation is really fucking terrible. But
Of course it is. Yeah.
but they felt like it was on purpose terrible, which just kind
Yeah.
of reinforced that it was bullshit.
Before we move on, I'd just like to say one thing that I found really interesting in the production design is they put a painting behind Milchek, and it was a painting of a iceberg. So I think that kind of really portrays a lot of what's going on with him and the company. You see a lot on the surface, but there's so much more below the surface.
Ooh, nice. I
Also,
like it.
if you compare it to Cobell's painting when she had the office, it's like 5 times that size. Like Cobell's painting was like split into 3 panels and it took up the entire wall. And then
Oh.
Milchek's painting is like tiny. That also kind of shows his
Oh.
value within the company.
What did she have in the background?
I think she had the exact same painting, just bigger.
No
But I
way.
might be wrong on that.
Oh wow, that's interesting.
So this episode is called the Trojan's Horse. Who is the Trojan's Horse in this episode?
It's tough because of the way that it's with the apostrophe S instead of without the apostrophe, because it's like
I'm not
It's
too
the
worried about the
Trojans.
spelling or the.
well, the videos I've seen saying it's like a kind of a double negative where it's like who is the Trojan? Is it being a Trojan horse, or is it the fact that you are being fooled by the Trojan's horse? It's kind of a perspective thing.
Well, I mean, obviously, in previous episodes, it was Helena / Helly, wasn't it?
Hmm.
Yeah,
You
but
know,
yeah.
Rickon says calls his book a Trojan horse.
Ah, so
And he
yeah, it's-
mispronounces it the same way.
Yeah.
That's where they got the title.
But then obviously now Mark's starting to reintegrate.
Mhm.
Is it Mark, or a theory that we I think it was one of Marie's ones from way back? Is it Irv? What was Irv doing on the outside? that really, I mean, and that's what I like about the titles. The titles of each episode are so
Yeah.
multi-dimensional, multi-meanings. There's so many ways you can adapt it. But this brings us on to the end of the meeting, where, of course, you get you fucking murderers. Well, this went well, and they go back to work, and only three desks. Like just that moment when they see how the desks
That
have been
threw me
set
off.
back, yeah,
Yeah.
and how the pictures have been edited, where Irv has been removed from them all.
Oh, so
Just
sad,
photoshopped
actually.
out. Yeah.
Oh. And then the threat to Dylan of removing his privileges. And then like Mark clocks that. He
Yeah.
like looks at it and
Yeah.
goes,
Mm.
But hey, then Dylan kind of stands up a bit and goes, no, he wants a funeral. And then again, another brilliant line. We need to ready a bereavement kit.
Yeah. And did you notice in the closet that they had cups with pictures of all of them in
All of
case?
them, yeah. And I
Yeah.
do
Oh,
find it so, like, they say that it's usually for an innie who passes away on the floor. And I'm like, that has happened before. So it's
yeah.
also very interesting. Like, someone, like, innies have died because, like,
Hmm.
the work
It's
does
really
not seem
interesting.
that dangerous, like, from what we've seen. So how can have innies died that they actually have a bereavement kit?
Maybe like a brain aneurysm or something. And it's just,
Maybe.
just
Or
something
a
like
Oh.
heart
that.
attack or
Yeah.
something like that.
Or actual wars inside the.
Yeah. Calamitous bursting through and like actually murdering people.
Yeah.
But
Now, I've got a question here that isn't really related to what he was talking about, but I see my notes, so I'm going to read it out. Why is it she called Helly R when we know she's Helena E, Helena Egan?
I
So
was
shouldn't it
thinking
be Helly
that.
E? Yeah.
I was thinking that. I was like, what does the R stand for?
What does the R stand for? If
But
you know people or you got a theory, let us
yeah.
know. Drop it in the comments.
Sorry, before we move on from that scene, it's just it had my favorite line, one of my favorite lines, mournful signage. Like
Mournful signage.
I
Hashtag
mean,
mournful signage.
the mournful sign. I love that one, that line.
Oh
I
wow.
mean, the writing is so good on this show, isn't it, by Dan
But
Erickson? Like, just phrases you would not expect to go together. Just a couple of words, but the juxtapositioning of them just creates, well, what juxtapositioning does. It just makes you create these different meanings from it. Mark is starts to get a bit more interesting in this episode because his innie, I think, is starting to blend with his outie. And of course, as we know, outie Mark couldn't deal with death, which is why he got severed in the first place. So now, what happens when his severed self has to deal with Herb's death right in front of him? And obviously, do we have him start? We seeing him have the flashes, his unsevered life.
Not only death, but with confrontation because he
Yeah,
wasn't able to talk to Helly about what happened.
what Mark tries to do here, he tries to return to normal as much as possible. He tries to just shut it all down. So, of course, when Helly comes down and wants to talk about things and what the hell was going on and what was happening, he absolutely blows off. And like you say, like she said, he's a bit of an asshole in this. And I'm wondering, is it him? There's so many ways you can think this. Is it Mark trying to just? Is it more his outie being in charge now that we're not aware of, and that he thinks this is what his outie would do? Sorry, this is outie Mark would think this is what his innie would do. Therefore, he toes the company line because there's when he has that line with Milkshake and he's like, well, "Yes, sir, Mr. Milkshake," and you're like, "Oh, that was really sarcastic and a bit like outie Mark." So, although we have the flashes to kind of show when it is outie Mark and innie Mark, I think it's a bit more subtle than that. I think because the way he acts with Helly, I think that was more outie Mark.
I think he subconsciously knows more context. He's not aware of everything that's going on because he's still kind of freaked out when he was at his desk and he looked at the picture and then he saw his pills. He wasn't sure what was going on. So
I think, I mean, I to be honest, I generally don't think it's like a process of reintegration. I think it's just a view of like the personality, and I do think it's interesting how like the two are starting to parallel and reflect each other because now like in season one, Audi Mark was the one who like had zero motivation, like was done with life and just wanted to forget. And now we see Innie Mark having zero motivation and being done with life, and Audi Mark being the go-getter and like seeking for reintegration, trying to find his wife. And I don't think it is them merging together. I think it's like that side of their personalities coming out, and like Innie Mark is just done because he just feels like he can't win anymore.
Or is it though, just purely because he is trying to play the company line
I don't know. I think the thing with Helena really fucked him up. I mean, he slept with someone that he didn't know who it was. I mean, that does mess you up, and I think that
Hmm.
kind of shows the control that Lumen has over him. Like he thought something was real. He thought something was a reality that someone cared for him, and he didn't know this person. Um like that is something extremely serious and extremely traumatic. So like him just going like basically thinking like I had this one moment of happiness with someone and it was all fucking fake. It's just yeah, it messes you up and he's like, "Okay, I'm done. I'm done fighting this."
Well, this brings us on to the scene with him and Helly when they meet back down there, and like what she says, "What you couldn't tell,"
Yeah.
and you're like, "Oh," and she
Yeah, that's
gives him so
rough.
much. She's like, "It's not my fault. My outie hijacked me." And but it's then from Mark's point of view, it's true. How would Lumin expect any of them to believe it's not her pretending again? Because if he couldn't tell,
They're both kind of right, honestly. It's like they both have
well,
points.
especially when Helena was prepared to go and try and lie again and try and give it another crack at just pretending to
Yeah,
be Helly.
yeah.
I think his line where he says like they're smarter than us, they know everything. That was sort of in there, wasn't it, as well?
Hmm,
Yeah.
yeah.
So if they know everything, then like you can't even say something like, "What's the one thing that you'd know?" or that I've said to you, or something in some
Yeah.
conversation somewhere to ask you something that only you would know to get that information. They haven't. He hasn't even got that. He's going off pure faith.
That what I've had people notice is like he was saying it was because of Helena, not because he thinks the company's watching. He still apparently trusts the company to some degree. So he's just thinking Helena is the one that's betrayed him, not the company. I don't
Well,
know.
speaking of, no, I mean you got a good point here, mate.
But
It's there are so many ways it could be taken.
I also just want to shout out the cinematography in the scene, how
Oh
Mark's
man,
face is halfway
the mirror.
covered by the
Yeah,
wall because it kind of to me it looks like that he's slipping away, like any Mark is slipping away and like
and
it's
there's that reflection shot there as well, with her reflection on either side of him, which was very cool as well.
yeah.
I saw a lot of people pick that out as well.
The way that they go from that scene to Milchick and Natalie, and it just kind of like fades out and with into Natalie facing, and then Milchick walks in. The cinematography honestly has been
And
amazing,
editing, yeah.
like the whole time. Like they're done a great job.
And of course, with that scene, what do we think is Helly's reaction going to be when she finds out she slept with, or Helena slept with Mark? Because we haven't had that bombshell dropped yet.
I think she's gonna
That's
try and
just,
kill Helena again. I
Oh,
mean,
she's gonna be
it's like one of
pissed.
those
Yeah.
situations. Like she already hates Helena with like every fiber of her being. That's gonna be ugly. That's not
mm,
gonna end well, like at
might
all.
have to use the reset for that,
I thought it was weird that Mark didn't want to know what she
where
saw.
she was.
Yeah,
Yeah.
because she wanted to tell him, and she was like, "I don't care." He was like,
I
"I don't
think
care."
that just tells me he's done. He's
Yeah,
just done. He's just gonna be a pawn in the game. Like he just
I'm
Yeah.
knows
still
he
not
can't
sure.
find it.
I still think I still think he's just. I think it's. I mean, I'm hopefully, well, not hopefully for me, but for you guys, completely wrong, and that I feel that outie Mark is bleeding in a little bit, and he's just pretending to do what he thinks should be acting like, and they're just being very subtle with it.
I think it's quite the opposite. He's not reintegrated yet, and I think when he is reintegrated, that's when we're gonna see that shift of him wanting to try to figure out more. Right now, I think he is hurt
Yeah,
and
you'll see
he's
Audi Mark trying to like help any Mark, like pull him
Hmm.
out of it.
Which
yeah.
credit
I,
sequences.
I
Because
liked
this
what
kind of
Jose said earlier with the emotional bleed sort of coming through of it. So you've got like the visual bleed, but then this is like emotional bleed of
Well,
the
that's what I'm kind
mental
of saying
process
in a
happening.
roundabout right way, where the two personalities are kind of crossing over a little bit.
I think that's
I,
all kind of part true, honestly.
Speaking of crossing over, let's cross over to Herb's funeral.
Oh,
And how did they so quickly get that creepy 16-bit video game character version of him? Also, where can we play that game? Because I would spend hours on it.
well, they said at one point he was dancing, and it looked like it was copying the dancing from season one when they had that party. So they probably have
Ah,
those characters already scanned in.
They do. I mean, 'cause they had the mugs ready, so I think they have everything ready. For me,
Yeah.
this is like extremely niche. I don't even know what this toy is called, but like people my age might know. there was this toy for like girls in like the early 2000s, which was had like a little house and you could control like a person in it. And it's like the exact same graphics. And I always wanted one, but my mom never gave me one because I had a German mother. But my friends had one, so I was always jealous. But that's it, like exactly, you control this like little pixelated person around the house, and like
Was
it
it
just reminded me.
Tamagotchi?
No,
No,
it
that's
was like sisters, like it was like the female version of a Tamagotchi, but it was
Is it
like a
like
Okay.
house.
I'm just thinking like a really old Sims, like Sims 1.
Yeah.
yeah. Let's not talk about my history of old video game characters because we'd be here for 18 podcasts.
What's interesting is the watermelon that Irv's face is carved out of is
That
not a
is
standard.
horrific, man.
It was scary, but it wasn't a regular watermelon. It's like this niche watermelon that I've never heard of. That has like a little black bulb thing at the top, and I was like, "Wow, that's really different." So it's like,
They're
hey, it's
actually eating his
watermelon
head, man.
They got some
and
talented
spear.
people in Lumen.
Yeah,
Like, that's
Yeah.
some talent.
You know what it is, David and Jose? They've probably got some of the fruit and veg carvers from the ships on there. Those guys can like bang out something
Oh, yeah.
really quickly. Did you guys, David? Do you ever film a fruit and veg carving on board?
I didn't do that, no.
Oh, you
No.
missed out.
But I did
not
see
really.
some of them. Yeah.
actually, my brother-in-law is Filipino, and his brother-in-law, when we were younger, when we all have uh, uh, holiday parties, his brother-in-law's brother, there's a relative of his would actually do a lot of these carvings, and they would do like birds out of cantaloupe and
they're amazing,
watermelon.
man.
It was really fun to watch.
But that melon looked just like Earth.
Yeah,
And
it was really good.
the affection index was in the high 60s.
Oh,
That doesn't seem that high. That
I mean,
seems
it's
just
better than-
barely over average.
I don't
mean,
know.
they
For
didn't
you
hate
guys,
him.
it's like 30s for me.
Yeah, see, so that's how popular Irv is. But the biggest, probably one of the biggest lines of the whole episode here, when Miss Huang and Milchick are prepping for it, she says, don't you know, you shouldn't do this. It makes them feel like people. Wait, so they're not people? You know,
That is really weird to have
But-
that perspective.
that also means she is not severed.
Oh,
So
yeah,
everyone was
definitely.
like, is Miss Huang? No, but people didn't know whether she was severed or not. Like this weird, creepy small child. But the fact she views them as not people means she isn't, because obviously she'd be talking about herself. I just like then we get to Dylan's speech, which was again, he put the dick in contradiction. He was awesome, and I miss him. The tone of story, which sounded like something out of The Office. I just immediately pictured the actual office, the American Office there with Jim and what's Wilson's
Dwight.
character? Dwight. Yeah, I just pictured Jim and Dwight there, and then just a little signage up around like the No Malice Palace, and of course this leads us to seeing the Hang On poster.
Hang in there.
Hang in there. Which
Hang
I
in
thought
there,
was
poster.
interesting that they used him as the drawing. Like
Yeah,
Dylan is the
because
person in the hang in there.
I thought it was Irv in.
Yeah, was it?
Like, no, it's Dylan.
No,
it's Dylan
definitely
doing
Dylan.
the OTC.
Yeah.
Like
And I'm
I
like,
thought it
is
was
that-
Irv keeping the elevators open, but it's actually Dylan like holding the two OTCs.
Yeah. And having it in universe, like, yeah, we're aware of what you did, and now we're gonna throw it in your face.
Yeah,
Is that what it
It's
is?
it's diabolical. It's like well because they're celebrating it because they called it the macro data uprising,
Yeah.
but
oh,
now
you're
it's
right.
like
That's
we're
what they did.
turning it into a motivational poster. Like
Mhm.
But again, this is where, and we all predicted this, like in the previous one, with the poster. Is he going to leave something there? Is
I mean,
Dylan
I
going
was
to
the
find
only
it?
one who said it. I was just gonna say.
I was going to say, taking Marie's thunder there, Neil.
I meant the
gonna
collective
say,
we.
can we get solely a counter? The Marie was right counter here, like.
That would take too much time in post.
Marie, you're in charge of that graphics editor.
Graphics. Now, also, this is a bit where Dylan, is it? Let me get this right. Dylan drops the Miss Casey Mark's wife bomb on Ellie.
Yes.
I got that right. I remember
Yeah.
that right.
That is
It
correct.
was a week ago when I had a fever.
Yes, and then she get upset and walk out, and he just doesn't want to answer.
Mhm.
And yeah, it's really it's like, come on, man, just talk to her. It's like there's so much more unsaid.
Well, as Ellie says, stop being a fucking arsehole.
Yeah.
It's not like they've got a whole lot else to do as well. I mean, I know they got their little like macro refinement job to do, but
Oh,
it's
their
not like
actual
they
job,
got
yes.
hours of just like
What would they
talking.
actually do if they
Like-
just, David, what would they do? What would Milchick and that do if they just did what we did And we said, fuck it, we haven't been paid. Let's down tools. And we just sat there and didn't do any work until we got paid. And then I think we went to the pub for breakfast.
This
Good times.
it does remind me of that scene in like Community where the dean goes, "Does anyone go to classes?" It's like, does anyone actually work? Like, it's just this season. Well, how many times have we actually seen them sit in front of their computers? Like,
Now, a random
Not
thought I
much,
want to
yeah.
throw in here that is with all the stuff about balancing the emotions and the different, what do they call them, the tempers?
the tempers.
Yes, David, this is for you. Is this show just a really, really fucked up adult version of Inside Out?
Ooh,
Interesting.
that's pretty cool. I mean, who would be what? Like each temper is each person's a little temper inside someone's head. Is that what you're getting at?
They could, I mean, it's another level where they could take it.
I
I
mean,
don't know how
Because
that
there's
would
that line
work.
early on when they say to Helly, oh, yeah, it's been pretty traumatic, but your tempers will balance soon.
Yeah, and not just they say like the medical, like they say the doctors, your tempers are balanced. This isn't like
Right.
um they didn't. It's not in general. That's why I thought was interesting about that line as well, because they kind of said to Helly, yeah, the doctors say your tempers are balanced. So it's like, like there's a medical element to it. They can just observe
Yeah, which is
first.
strange.
I think it's just a large scale cult. Honestly, that's
Cloning or just cult?
both. Honestly, because I
Clone
think
cult.
cloning is definitely involved. But like I think in terms of employees, they're the part of the cult, and then the rest of the world is just sees them as a company, and that's why the Severance is partially. That's I think that's partially why Severance is so controversial because of the idea that when you go down there, you don't know what they're telling you, and
Mm.
so now it's like we're seeing just how bad it can be. Like, we've seen the whole time just how different and weird and how controlling they are. So that's why only a certain type of people kind of work there. And I think that's something there too.
One thing what I thought was really interesting after the funeral scene, it's the first time we actually see Miss Wong act like a child,
Hmm. But
because
that's where she gets a cob on because she doesn't get to play a
she
theremin.
doesn't get her to play theremin. And the way she says is like, but I practice. That was so childlike to me. And because there's because like, is she like a person just stuck in a child's body? But like the way her reaction was, it was like, no, that's a child's reaction to something,
Hmm.
like, which I thought was really interesting.
It's like when I say, guys, have you read the document before a podcast?
We did, I mean,
I mean,
Wait,
I
there's a
glanced
document
at
for
it.
these?
Anyway, you're just be grateful I'm not doing your next performance review. That's all I'll say. But before that starts, we get another great eye acting scene between Seth and Natalie, and it furthers along that same conversation they had in the previous one, where again he's asking her how she reacted to the paintings, and again she says nothing but kind of toes the company line, as it were, but her eyes say the exact opposite, and it's such good acting, man. Eye acting, yes.
Yes, you realize that she has that headpiece in all the
Hmm.
time. So like she can't be honest. She
Ever,
she can't
yeah.
really. Well, I mean, did she have it when she went to talk to Mark's brother-in-law? I don't think she did.
And now, again, the things they mark on in the I mean, just the line up to the appraisal was great. He goes, "It will be 2 to 6 hours. If it's over 4, there will be lunch." Oh well, I hope that won't be necessary. Here's a lunch menu. I literally laughed out loud with that
Yes.
delivery.
It was so
And
good.
in my
I
notes, I just wrote savage. Like,
I am low key starting to like Drummond now. I like he's a really funny actor. He's an Iceland. I think he's an Icelandic actor. The guy who
huh.
plays him, and he's been in quite a few things in the UK,
You
playing
know what
American,
I
bizarrely.
you know what I really just realized, like literally right now? He was in a movie with Ben Stiller, The Secret Life of Walter Mitty. He was the helicopter
Oh,
pilot.
Oh,
He was
really?
drunk, and he was the one that kind of flew him to the. That is one of my favorite movies. I'm surprised I didn't catch that earlier.
well, that explains why he's in the show. Then Ben Still was like,
Yes.
"Where's?" Well, there we
Yeah,
go.
I like you. You're intimidating, but yet funny. So, boom.
And of course, his urine was in an excellent range. Why is his urine important to his appraisal?
Oh, American companies do drug tests regularly, so
Yeah, but it's the way. It wasn't like it's been. Yeah, it's clean. It was like it's in an excellent range.
he's just
Like,
how healthy man. Did you see how buff he is? He's like jacked. He's very,
having
very
said that, we
muscular.
used we used to be under the threat of constant piss tests in our old job.
Did we ever see that happen though? I
It
don't
was.
think
I
we
reckon it
would
was like an
really.
urban rumor on ships that you could be piss tested at any time, and if you were over the alcohol limit, which was literally one beer, well, like a beer and a half, I think, you would be sent home in the next port. And no one ever knew anyone.
I've seen it. I think I don't know if he got pissed. I mean, he definitely got deported at the next port, and because of being pissed. But I don't know whether that was because of a piss test or not.
So I think it's just probably because he was very pissed. That's,
I
know so many people who just boom, they're on a plane.
I think that was used more as a threat in terms of not using drugs than alcohol, because drugs would definitely cause more problems. And so I think that's why people referred back to alcohol.
I was just about to say, I had one brief tangent where on my last contract, there was a musician whose girlfriend came on board as a passenger to travel with him, and they had a passenger cabin. So he went outside, sparked up a joint on the balcony in full view of the bridge, which is literally right there. So not a surprise. 10 minutes later, knock on the door, and you're going home, but your girlfriend can stay on board because we can't bollock passengers, but as a crew member, you're gone. We went through so many guitarists. The other guy got drunk and fell down the stairs. What a contract, man. Yeah. And we're on a world cruise, man. You do not want to fuck up on that one.
That's the worst.
You do not. Anyway, his acceptance of the paintings was graded as well. And you just kind of felt at that point, I was like, oh, there's not going to be much more afterwards, though, is there? There was 3 contentions. Much like when I do this podcast with you, Jose. Contentions. And the first 2 complaints were by Miss Huang. Uses too many big words, which again is hilarious because it plays into the thing of her being a child, which would be funny. The paperclip was back to front, which was fucking hilarious. And then the bit where Drummond's just like, I don't know where to start reading it. I was like, are you serious? The paperclip got to
be super lean, man. Everything at Lumon's got to be like the leanest thing.
Yeah. And I actually saw a TikTok where someone was at work and they were like looking twice at which way to put their paperclip. I thought that was awesome.
Hey, awareness of paperclips.
I am deep into TikTok severance talk. It's ridiculous.
I did not know that was a thing, but nice.
I'm gonna start.
You can put the word talk.
I mean, granted, last week I'm pretty sure I sent you guys like 5 videos in 10 minutes. You know.
Yeah, no offense, Jose. I never watched them.
Son of a bitch. I'm gonna send them directly to your account now.
Well, this definitely sounds like the failure of a new team. And I guess we just need some kindness reforms. Yes. And of course that also leads on to, I mean, his binder of shit that he's got wrong is just not good. And then of course the calamitous ORTBO. Yes. But again, you get that line there that I forget it's Drummond. Treat them like what they really are, which is, I'm guessing, livestock. And then they're like, I'm okay. Milchick's like, okay, I'm gonna do better. I'm tightening the leash. But then when he bumps into Mark afterwards and he has that bit, this is why I said it feels like Malty Mark. Whatever you say, Mr. Milchick, praise Keir. But he says it with such a shit-eating grin on his face. Mm-hmm. And it's weird because if we go by what you were saying, Marie, that he's just defeated, he wouldn't have given him any shit. So that makes me wonder.
I think he's done. That's why he's giving shit. He's done being the model employee. He's just done.
But he wasn't really the model employee. He was always from season 1 because he's good.
Like. Is this when he was leaving work about 6 minutes early?
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. And they get so close in that screen. And again, I love the framing. Milchick's just fucking towering over.
The step forward where he's like, "Does she know? Do you know that you fucked?"
Did you tell her you? That line. Did you tell her you fucked her outie at the ORTBO?
I was like that gif where it's like, oh.
Yeah, I was shocked. But yeah, people noticed is he used short words. He was very direct. He wasn't using big words anymore.
Is that the first time we've heard Milchick swear?
I think so. I
don't know this. I'll have to check this.
Yeah.
But yeah, he was much more direct. He wasn't very kind. He was just right in his face, and I think that's part of what it was.
I had another weird thought here connected to that because his reaction there was real fucking shock that Milchick said that to him. Mm-hmm. Now again, if this was Outie Mark, he might not have known he fucked.
That's kind of where I was wondering too, actually.
And at the time, I wonder if that again. I honestly think I'm onto something with the whole his innie and outie are merging, and so, but it's so subtle in the acting that it's not like one big signposted thing where we go, oh, well, we know that's Mark, we know that's the innie. Just the sarcasm there, because Outie Mark is a bit of a dick sometimes. So the way he said that to Milchick, that made me think that, and then just his reaction to being told that perhaps he didn't know that at that time. Again, the subtleties of the show. I mean, I'd love it if they were.
With that, again, Marie's probably one to ask because she's good with this stuff. Was Mark's hair a little bit more like ruffled? This is Innie's hair, like is more like his Outie's hair.
Yeah, because like in season 1, like Audie's Mark's posture was shit, and Innie's Mark's posture was immaculate, and that's how that was like an easy way to tell the difference.
So there you go. It could be.
And one thing that like
integration.
because like the first shot you saw Mark, I wasn't actually sure if it was Innie or Audie Mark because the posture was actually quite good, and then you see the pills and you're like, oh, we're with Audie Mark. So I don't know.
I'm so going to be checking his posture now next episode.
I do. It's one of the most genius ways how like the difference between the two.
This is kind of what ties into what I said at the start of the episode, that on the surface, not a lot happens, but holy shit, a lot has happened in this episode.
We haven't even talked about all his coughing as well during
His
this
coughing,
episode. He's just coughing constantly. Side effect of the thing, but it's like not a good one because it's leading down the what happened to Petey route.
Yeah. But is it reintegration or is it just because he was literally in the fucking wilderness?
No, I'm thinking it's reintegration. Yeah,
exactly.
And then we have the scene with Devon and Rickon, and Rickon mentions about the Trojan horse thing, but then he mentions actually it's probably because of the money and like, and I just love her reaction. No, babe.
Although then that kind of shoots down my theory that he helped write that.
The last book, same.
I thought it was going to be him, but I guess not.
And of course, then this leads us on to Outie Irv. We see Irv lives on the phone, and we've seen him on the phone before. Who is he on the phone to? We still don't know. Is it Dr. Ragabi? Is that what we're guessing?
That's what I thought.
Ragabi. Yes.
That's what I thought like originally.
Irv has been the deep cover guy.
But I don't know. Like,
here's the thing is she said to Mark that she's only done swims before. So I think Irv is a rogue agent from something else that's going on that we haven't seen yet. So I think Irv has a really interesting backstory, especially with his military background. I wouldn't be surprised if he knew someone in the inside that got severed, and then he wanted to see what was going on for himself.
Can I just say, Audie Irv seems so cool. Like his jacket, his dog, like he has just such
listens
a
to
cool
Motorhead
vibe.
Artist.
Yeah. And then, of course, he finds Bert watching him. Why are you at my house?
And Bert didn't retire. He got canned.
Yeah.
And 3 weeks prior. So it's been a little while since Bert got
and of course, why did he get canned? Because his innie had an unsanctioned erotic entanglement with another worker.
Which made me ask the question, is there such a thing as a sanctioned erotic entanglement?
With another co-worker?
Fun fact, in season 1, I forget what episode, but I saw a clip where Mark was watching on the TV a news report with Natalie talking to a reporter, and the reporter asked, what do you make of someone's innie getting pregnant? And so it's something that's not new. So the same thing could happen with Helly R.
Which Helena. Mentions potentially. Imagine that she finds out that could be the way they do it, where she like starts. I mean, because you'd have to have a time jump because you wouldn't be that soon. Although they're on the 7th floor, God knows what weird shit they're doing down there or putting into people.
So there are other romances being involved down in the inside.
Well, it wouldn't take that long to realize if she'd missed a period, because I'm assuming the innie helps. She'll still get a period.
Honestly, I have thought about this because I am in so much pain. I'm on my period, but what happens in that situation? Like is she allowed a hot water bottle, painkillers? I have actually asked the question, what happens when an innie is on her period? Because
well, they have to have feminine products in the business, don't they?
Probably in the vending machine.
I think so.
Don't make them pay. I know Lumon is evil, but that's diabolical.
I mean, it just seems like they have supplies for everything.
I never thought they actually paid for stuff in the vending machine in there. I thought it was always just.
Well, do they have a currency down there?
I wondered if there was their key card or something. I'm not sure.
Yeah.
I'll have to, next time there's a vending machine, I'm going to be eagle-eyed. Again, he goes, when we're getting back to Bert and Irv, and of course he goes, okay, so they kind of subtly hit it off again. And then he goes, well,
Yes.
yeah, you come over because he kind of. I think that you were the person my innie had the affair with, and he goes, yeah, my husband Fields. You, me,
Fields.
Fields, and a ham. I mean, that just sounds like a sitcom right away, doesn't it?
Here's a question. Do you think Fields also works there, or do you think he's not connected?
We don't know enough about Fields yet to really form an opinion, do we?
Yeah,
Yeah,
could be a
I'm just saying,
possibility.
could it be the guy who goes down the hallway who we saw with the dental equipment?
That, to be honest, that did like occur to me. But then, like, I don't know, because like if he was non-severed, that would be kind of weird just seeing the severed version of your husband.
Didn't we see him at the end of
Yeah, the last episode of
yeah,
season
yeah,
one.
yeah. Did we see
Because
him?
Earth
Unless
gets
he
to the
wasn't
door,
his
and
We do.
yeah,
You're right. We kind of saw him from afar, so they
Yeah.
could have changed the actor. It's happened before.
Yeah, true.
now I got a thought here, right? Lumen pretty much run the town. The town is called Kia, so I don't believe for a second that they're just keeping an eye on everyone on the seventh floor. I reckon they're keeping an eye on everyone throughout the whole town. But
It's
how
kind of
would
hard to say.
Lumen? Well, the town's called Kia, man. Like
But
they are the only infrastructure around. Because if you look, everything is there to support Lumen,
I,
isn't it? In that place.
No, I
I
mean
think
Devon
it's
doesn't work for Lumen.
I feel
Like,
like they haven't got the
Interesting.
workforce as well. Like we see all those cars in the car park, but like when you actually see how many people are working there, there's only ever like 5 people.
Oh, and on that floor, we don't see the
Like
other
just
floors though,
walking
do we?
around.
yeah, and it was pretty busy when they were on the top floors when
Well,
you
my
saw the
reasoning for
right
that was
before the
just
meeting.
wouldn't Lumin know that Dr. Rickaby was staying at Mark's? If Mark is that important to like completing this massive Cold Harbor project, I don't believe for a second they wouldn't have people spying on his innie and outie at the same time.
Maybe.
yeah, but if you think back to season one, how long it took them to find Peely.
That's true, yeah.
Or
Yeah,
actually,
and
they
that
didn't
was
realize.
with Kobelvik living right next to Mark.
But then
So
surely,
Well, she
if
was
that
the
happened in
spy, I
season,
suppose.
no, but
yeah,
no, because they didn't know she was there.
yeah.
Oh yeah, 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 yeah.
Lumen did not put her there. She was there on her own accord.
But then surely, if they know that because that's what happened that she did in season one, why wouldn't they have someone there? The new neighbor turns up for season two.
Yeah, but that's
I,
but she wasn't there because of like Lumen
But
did not put her
if
no,
there.
no, no,
Lumen
no.
didn't know
But
she was there, then they're clearly not spying on the
They're
town.
not
Then
spying on.
yeah.
Yeah,
but
I don't
surely
think.
you would spy on Marquez though. Lumin clearly know that Cobell was there and spying on him. To what end, we're still not sure. But if you're Lumin, wouldn't you go, well, okay, let's just put a new neighbor in there who can spy on him again?
Well, I think what they're trying to do is just trying to calm things down. I don't think they're really into spying on their employees. Because
Bullshit.
this whole I mean outside of work, because this whole time they're just trying to bring back everything to normal on the inside, and the obviously Heli R is a unique outlier, but
Mm.
the whole time they're just trying to make things regular. They're trying to get this achievement done with Cold Harbor, but they're not trying to control anyone outside of their offices. That's why they
I'm
didn't
not
really
sure on
know.
that.
Because I feel like Cobell being his neighbor was such a big deal that
But then why does Natalie turn up at Rickens?
because after the fact, like they saw how the book affected the employees, so they wanted to neutralize that.
But that's what I mean. So they can influence what happens in the town.
I mean,
Rickon
Well,
doesn't
that's
work
not
for them.
really. That's not really influence.
That's wanting
That's
to influence the severed, the
The
employee.
non-severed.
Yeah, yeah.
yeah. To me, I don't think they are as powerful as you think, and that's why Cold Harbor is important because they
Okay.
keep mentioning there's pushback back against them. I mean, you've got people like being very much against Severance. You had them spying on Mark on the diner, but after that, you haven't. I don't think they actually are as big as they seem, and they can
Mm.
only be in certain places at once, and they definitely want to change that.
Well, if it's David's theory that we talked about in the other one, or it was my theory, I forget now. The one where it's just a big AI controlling it, the whole thing. Like the board is an AI.
Mhm.
Yeah, my idea
Hmm.
was that it was singular, yeah.
That
Whether
was
it's
it.
AI or not. Yeah.
So, of course, this brings us to the end of the episode where Mark's reintegration starts getting a bit more vivid, and he starts hearing all the affirmations from his sessions with Gemma, and then he finds himself back in Lumen, but as outie Mark, and then he sees her, and then he has that line, "Your outie is," and then we fade to black.
For the record, none of those affirmations were actually said in the previous episodes.
Ah, were they not? They said different things he's remembering.
Correct.
So that's
Yeah.
new. Ah,
It also shows like
nice.
even the affirmations are such bullshit. Like when have you seen Audi Mark roller skate? I mean, it's just like another way of controlling the innies. Like it's
Yeah. I think everything that happens in Lumen is BS. Like
yeah,
it's all just geared towards
propaganda.
control.
Swedish BS.
Hmm.
He can parallel park in 20 seconds.
That's
Like,
pretty
guys,
fast.
I think it's rookie, man. That's a rookie. Take 20 seconds to parallel park.
Right,
You know,
David, now you owe us a video.
unless you're my
Yes.
unless you're my
20
wife who
seconds.
takes 2 minutes and then gives up. It's not
And David's just offended all women
Have you
once
seen that
again on the
video of the
podcast.
Irish
just
guys
not
on the
all
second
women. It's just my
floor?
wife.
I saw a video
Right.
of Irish guys on the second floor of a building watching a woman struggle for like 5 minutes to parallel park. And it's the most hilarious thing. I'll send it to you guys later.
Oh, great. And now we've offended all the Irish as well. Brilliant. Any other now? Marie, do you want to take a crack at the French now?
That's
I mean,
easy.
offending the Irish is nothing new on this podcast, I think.
Oh, no, to be fair, that's what
Do
we
I need to
started
remind
with
you guys
that.
that I am Irish? Like what?
Yeah, we
Yeah.
offend you all the time,
Yeah.
Marie. You know this.
Look, it got to the point where our pronunciations were so bad, we got a voice note sent in by one of David's former co-workers to tell us
Yeah,
how
but
to
that was
pronounce.
before I joined the podcast, in all
Yeah.
fairness.
There you go. I mean, this explains why your acceptance of us is at 30s.
Yeah.
I mean, our Banshees of Inisherin review. Jesus.
Inisherin.
Jesus.
Oh, see?
Exactly.
There's already-
The Banshees of Ed Sheeran. That joke never got a laugh once.
I've got a theory.
Is it
No.
bunnies?
No, just one because my big takeaway from this episode for me personally was that Lumen does not just treat its severed employees like shit, it treats its non-severed
Everyone.
employees like shit as well, like the way they
Milkshake.
treat
Yeah.
Milkshake, which like plays into my theory of what Cold Harbor is that they're trying to create the perfect human, like the perfect worker. Kier believed to achieve a fulfilling life, you have to tame the four tempers. And that is for me, that's what they're doing in macro data refinement. Because like if you look
Trying
at
to balance the.
like the numbers, if you look at the boxes, they're labeled MO, FC, DR, MA.
It's the
Woe,
tempers.
Floric, Dread, Malice. Somehow the numbers are connected to the four tempers. And like for me, this is my theory, Cold Harbor is them trying to create the perfect employee and trying to rewrite people's personalities.
Wow.
It's like a way of programming.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah,
Literal.
I think that could be. But do we think the whole Kier thing that they're going to use Kier as like the like the DNA model or some version of bringing Kier back because it was his idea in the first place?
I
So
don't know. I base my theories on evidence, and I haven't seen any. I'm just like,
Baby
don't-
Kier,
a part
Kier.
of me doesn't think
In the
Kier's
credits.
dead.
He's a head in a jar.
I think Kier is alive.
This is
And
perfect
he's-
for me to interject then, because a lot of the water references that people are using, many of them steer back towards a fountain of youth. And the reason that they're dealing with a lot of water issues or a lot of water related things. And with what's his Mark's wife's name?
Miss Casey.
Miss Casey. A lot of people are saying that either they saved her or they're trying to reanimate her through this Cold Harbor initiative. And there's different versions of things that I've seen, but like essentially is what they're trying to do is they're trying to reanimate people and trying to keep their original mind or like a
Put
separate
it in a new
mind.
body.
Yeah, put it in a new body. So cloning is kind of a theory in this as well.
And
So
Severance could be the first step on that journey, as it
exactly.
were.
So that's why it's
Ah.
such a big deal. But like all of this is wild speculation. So I think for me personally, why I'm not completely against it is because like with the work that they do with when they feel the numbers and that's like, how do you explain that? You know, it's like the technology in this is way different from what we really know as being actual. So
yeah.
it could be a lot of things in this.
I will say one other thing before we round us off is that from the behind the scenes bit they had at the end of the episode again, they said that Irv is still trying to help Dylan despite even not being there. Miss Fwang is not afraid of Milchek in any way because I think it was in there where they oh yeah, she's the one who reported him twice. I was like, oh,
Yep.
because I didn't catch that in the show.
Yeah,
But
same.
I think, and I've seen a lot more theories suggesting it, the slow turn of Seth is coming. Milchek's gonna turn face. He's gonna stop being a heel, to use wrestling parlance. He's gonna turn.
He's gonna get upset and be dissatisfied.
He's like, fuck these guys. Yeah.
Yeah. One thing we kind of completely skimmed by is on the poster. It showed Irv's lifespan of the company from quarter like 870 to quarter 892 or 882.
Okay.
People did the math. If Lumen was founded by like 1782, the current year would be something like 19 or 2088. So the quarters don't really add up. So it could be just some random kind of thing that they're just throwing employees off, even if they're trying to figure out what's going on.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, those numbers also like they mean something to the employees, but they don't mean something to the outside. Like I think if an Audi looked at that,
Mhm.
they would know what it meant. Like it's another
Hmm.
way of like
Yeah.
controlling the environment.
Well, I'm gonna finish this on one question that I think is going to keep us going throughout the series. We don't know why Irving went to Lumen in the first place. What his out his background is, and if it ties in with the military side of it, that could also tie in with the whole tech side of it. There's so many ways it could go. But I think Totoro's going to he's going to come back storming with a massive, massive impact as the show goes on. And I believe that brings us to the end of the seventh section of the Weedy and Rose podcast this week. So, Marie S., where can people find you on the Lumen Sphere?
You can find me under the handle Life on Mars. That is Twitter, Instagram, TikTok, and also check out my other podcast for some sustainable shenanigans, which Lumen would definitely disapprove of. Two girls, one reusable cup.
Jose L., where can people find you?
You can find my wedding photography at jlopezphotos.com. No Jennifer
Are these
Lopez
sanctioned
weddings,
erotic entanglements?
non-sanctioned
Non-sanctioned.
Oh,
entanglements.
Jose.
And then you can find my lifestyle and fun photos on at Jose Lopez Photos
They're the
on
sanctioned
Instagram.
ones.
Those are the sanctioned ones, yes.
And David L. I almost don't want to ask where we can find you
My
because of your
Audi
second one.
is
Your
at
outtie's name is offensive.
We Needed Roads on Instagram,
No.
and you
Oh,
can.
yes, it is.
Yes, it is. Yes, and you can find him at Long D at Blue Sky. It's yeah, Long
Yeah.
D.
Don't make it weird, Jose.
That's what the L stands for in David L. Okay, it's it stands for long.
And you can find me at Needy Roads on Twitter because we're never not calling it Twitter. Lumen be damned. And you can also find me at NeilG78 on Blue Sky, and you can find me on Threads because apparently people are really into Severance Threads. Like, it's insane. We've had so many people interacting with us on there. So leave us comments. And if you've enjoyed our theories and our attempts at unraveling Severance's mysteries, don't forget to subscribe to us at the We Need Roads podcast on YouTube and Spotify. And please give us a like and drop your comments for us as well. We want to hear your theories. It's great fun us getting together and chatting, but we want to hear what you think about the show. Don't put, obviously, this is going to be spoilers, so don't put them in the comments. Drop us a DM on any of our socials, and then we'll read the best comments out. Well, all the comments out, depending on how many we get. And we'll read them out on the upcoming episodes. I will also mention that if you're enjoying our Severance specials, and this is your first time listening to the We Need Roads podcast, hope you stick around for our regular shows where we review what we've been watching. We do the occasional spoiler specials. We even have quizzes with Quizmaster David, and we even have guests from the industry once in a while. Till next time, we will have no more unsanctioned erotic engagements.